I was going so hard with that. Welcome to the first episode of Shooting Breaks Staff Car Diaries. We're going to start with my own manual F82 BMW M4. We're going to take around Donington Park on track day. I'm going to tell you what it's like to drive, and I'm going to show you what else my friends have brought along too. Here at SB, we don't just sell cars, we also drive our own. We've started this series to document our journeys with our own personal cars, including track days, modifications and road reviews. As always, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more enthusiast-focused content, and be sure to check out shootingbrake.com for your next dream car. With that said, let's introduce you to my E46 M3 replacement. 2014 BMW M4, it's a 6-speed manual. We're in Sports Plus throttle, Sports Plus suspension, sport steering, traction off. This car's fairly standard. I've got lowering springs, spacers, CS spec alignment and a CS spec map. So it should be around 450 horsepower instead of 430, so nothing crazy. So fairly typical benchmark for how these cars perform on track. Now, we're in a bit of traffic, so I'll just tell you about the general things about tracking on these. I've got standard brakes, standard pads. I've been told my discs are actually the wrong way round as well. I'm doing about 5 or 6 hot laps each time, and it's fine. I get a bit of a long pedal, but I haven't lost brakes. In terms of track resilience for a standard car, this thing is incredible, and a massive, massive step up over the older M cars, which would normally lose brakes after about 2 laps. We've also got excellent temp management. Sports Plus runs the fans all the time, so I've got really stable oil temperature. Hasn't gone above 120 at all, even got close to it. Really, really good. Right, we're getting into it now. So I don't know the corner names. My first ever time going around Donington. Amazing circuit, super fast. Most of it's in third. It's all about keeping the flow up, smooth inputs. It's so different to road driving. What's the M4 actually like? Well, with Sports Plus suspension, it's pretty locked in. The bodywork is really well controlled and the brakes are absolutely fantastic. It's very confidence inspiring and it stops so well. We've also got an incredible amount of turn, and bearing in mind I'm on standard suspension, standard top mounts. I'm running a stagger setup, not a square setup. I have not yet really found major understeer that wasn't user error, i.e. me turning in too late and too sharply. You can get this floating in where the back is kind of almost stepping out, and it's so lovely and controllable on the limit. I didn't think I'd have the confidence to track this with traction off. I mean, this car is my baby. I've wanted one of these for a long, long time. It was a big purchase for me. I really don't want to bin it. This isn't some, track weapon. It's my lovely daily. And despite that, the confidence I'm getting in these corners is just so good, especially on the faster sweepers where I've got so much confidence in that rear axle. I feel like I know exactly what the rear axle is doing. I feel like I know exactly what the throttle is giving me, despite this being a very boosty turbocharged engine. The throttle mapping allows you to be so precise with your inputs. And on top of that, the way they've done the brake bias means you can use the brakes to get the nose in a little bit, and if you trail brake, it's really nice. So a bit of a mishmash of things there, but the main thing is we've got a stonking amount of power. We've got 7,500 RPM, which is a very useful amount of RPM because it means I can hang on to gears that little bit longer without having to change up mid-corner. What's it like having a manual? I'll be honest, I love the manual on the road. I really, really do. Round here, I definitely see the benefit of DCT because you have to concentrate so much when driving this car. You're really getting loads up, you're pulling loads of G's. The concentration required to then also think about gears and take a hand off the steering wheel is pretty immense. Saying that, it is still really fun. In Sports Plus, this car leaves you on your own. You've got 1-to-1 throttle, you've got no rev matching. You do it all yourself, just like in an older car. And honestly, it's just so good. You just wouldn't think this was a standard, lovely road car. You really wouldn't. You can take absolute liberties. You can brake so late. And the pedals are really well set up for heeling and towing on big braking inputs. Like the way the throttle and the brake is set up. You can tell that, in my opinion, this is the first ever M3, aside from maybe the E30, that feels genuinely optimized for track first and road second. In the way the inherent basics are set up, yes, it would benefit from a bit more camber up front, but that's mainly for tyre longevity as opposed to actual handling. I mean, I can't really imagine taking this corner that much quicker here. The other thing is these seats. You have to focus on kind of pushing yourself into the back of them, but they are really supportive. I've got the bolsters pumped up all the way on this, and I'm not struggling for support. I'm able to really just focus on the steering and the pedals. Basically, for a BMW, for a road going to BMW, this is absolutely incredible on track. It really, really is. And all the little compromises you got on the roads, they just completely fade away here. And in my opinion, it's really worth it. It's a really nice balance of road car and track usability. The fact that I've just been able to jump into this with pretty much no preparation, have no issues with temp management, no issues with brakes, no issues with chronic understeer, is really quite impressive. I think BMW did a great job with this, really, really great job. I love this car. I just love it. It has its flaws. I understand why people don't like these. I think they're not the most feelsome cars on the road. They don't inspire a lot of confidence, but the inherent bones of them and the way they're set up is just so good. It's so good, and it is a proper sports car. It doesn't necessarily feel like one. It doesn't give you that feel, but in terms of the actual performance on tap, it's unbelievable. And that's not just because of that stonking engine. It's because you've got this incredible friendly chassis. I'm on road tyres here, Michelin PS4S Star. And I just shouldn't be able to carry this much speed through, honestly. And you can make adjustments mid-corner with the throttle, with the steering. The other thing is, I'm really surprised, but we've got loads of traction here. I haven't had any issues with not being able to put the power down. Once you get some temperature into the tyres, which you can check on a handy TPMS system here, it's really grippy. This is full throttle, third gear, 5,000 RPM, 6,000 RPM, 7,000 RPM. You're just throwing torque at the rear wheels only, and it's just taking it. Wow, just wow. The lack of steering feel doesn't really matter on track. Doesn't really affect anything, you don't really miss it. The main thing is you get a really nice, accurate steering rack that doesn't blow its power steering reservoir. I'm looking at you, E92. If you want a car that you can drive to track day in, do lap after lap, drive home, drive to work in, be it shopping in the back, be it mates or kids in the back, F80, F82, it's the car. It is the car. And yes, I know the G80 is quicker around the track and on the road, but where that car is a bit heavier, it doesn't matter how it drives, BMW managed to make it really well, but you would be rinsing through tyres and brakes, whereas this is managing it really well. These manual F82 M4s weigh about 1570 kilo, which really isn't that bad considering you've got 275 tyres. So it's managing its tyres really, really well. These things matter. It's not just about how a car drives around track, it's about how it's set up in terms of its track day resilience. How many hot laps can you do before you have to pit? Do you have to go home early because you get issues with temp management, with brakes falling off, tyres falling off? You just get in, forget about it, just focus on getting that nose into the corners, getting that rear end loaded up. What a car! They really, really thought it through. They really genuinely wanted you to take this on track. Right, basically, manual M4, big yes. Big, big yes. And it's a great road car as well, but I'll do a separate video on that. Also, Donington, great track, highly recommend. Very fast, slightly intimidating at first. Once you learn the undulations, it really sorts you out. I can hear my brakes pinging away because of how hot they get, but they didn't fade, which is great. But yeah, great circuit. I'd highly, highly recommend Donington.
So how did this track day actually come about? Well, the story really starts with my old E46 M3, which I sold to Tom, a proper enthusiast and all-round great guy. Tom wanted to benchmark his new purchase around his local track and booked onto the Donington day, consequently asking if I wanted to tag along too. I was dying to know how Tom was getting along with the M3, particularly given our shared roots with BMW E36s. I asked him a few questions, kicking off with what he thought about the E46 M3 platform.
Got plenty of power, it's all in the top end, platform itself's really planted, really capable. I'd recommend the 46 M3 to anyone. Honestly, now I've owned one, I'll probably drive it to work tomorrow, and I'll cruise control at 70 all the way down.
What do you think of it around track compared to something like a 36?
I think the weight actually helps. It's just planted, it's solid, it tracks really well, as in like it floats across bumps and everything well, whereas the E36 would get a lot more unsettled, whereas this kind of soaks it up. It feels more comfortable and safe at the higher speeds. You know, here you're 100 mile an hour plus in quite a few places. This, I can turn in at 100 mile an hour and it feels good. The E36 was all right, but it was light, it was skittish, it was any little bumps and wouldn't upset it. But I mean, they are very similar still. There's a lot of suspension components that are interchangeable and that between E36 and E46.
So as a Donington regular, what's your one hot tip?
You've got to commit. It's quite fast, it's heavy on brakes, it's heavy on tyres. Because the speeds are so great a lot of the time, the tyres really take a beating. But yeah, as a first time, as a beginner on track or a beginner at Donington or wherever, be reserved until you feel comfortable. Don't push your limits because you spoil it for everyone else. So if you're not quite comfortable, just take it easier, learn the track.
Any more plans for the 46 M3 under your ownership?
Brakes. Probably something like the 135, 140i, 4-pot, 2-pot rears. Something like that. That's the main thing, and realistically, that's about it really. I like it as it is. I like the full interior. I can just drop a bucket seat into it. Air conditioning would be nice in the summer. I've done some track days here in like 30 plus degrees and it's horrible. I've always thought I would be faster, comfortable, than I would 100%. be hot and the weight removed. Probably try and tidy the paintwork up over summer, but it doesn't really bother me. That's the character. Yeah, other than that, I think that's about it.
That concludes our first episode of SB's Staff Car Diaries. Tune in next time for twin tests of my old E46 M3 with my colleagues DC5 Integra, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more brilliant content. Shooting Brake is your home for all things enthusiast, be it buying, selling or driving. Thanks and see you next time.